Hey everybody, Richard Neese here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our podcast, the self-titled Richard Neese Podcast. Today I've got a special guest. It's my boss lady, Brenda Elliott, the owner of Weichert Realtors, the Space Place. We're going to talk with Brenda about her business successes. We're going to talk about all the secrets she has for success as well. Talk about some things that she uses to help grow leadership, grow people, and also early life and what led to her being such a successful business lady. Brenda, do you want to tell everybody kind of your roots, your starting story, where you came from, talk about mom and dad, that kind of stuff, so we have a general feel for who you are?
Sure. I am Brenda Elliott. I was born to parents at the University of Georgia. So I was born a Bulldog. I did graduate from the University of Georgia. Although my husband graduated from Georgia Tech, that's why all three of our daughters went to Auburn.
There you go.
Because they were smart.
Two great schools, Georgia and Georgia Tech. So.
And Auburn.
That's right. Well,
Auburn.
We'll talk about that another time. But yes, ma'am. Auburn's a great school, too.
I did not start out to go into real estate. I started out to go into interior design. And I did right out of, that's what my degree is in. Right out of college, I went into commercial interior design and worked in commercial design for several years. And then after that, I decided, I really wanted to get into residential. I really wanted to know what would make a property sell or keep a property from selling.
Absolutely.
And so I decided to know it from the inside.
Every detail.
I would have to get into the business
That's
and
right.
immerse myself in the business. My husband was active duty Army at the time, and he was at the Pentagon, and that's where I got my start.
Sure.
I went into real estate, was very blessed to go right to work for Weichert because of their educational program.
That's right.
I learned the business from the inside. I was very, very passionate about it. I learned what it felt like to be at a closing table with people that had never owned a property before.
And you were very successful to begin with. Weren't you Rookie of the Year in that region?
I was.
So what I love about Brenda is that she's always willing to jump in. I asked her to do this interview probably about 2 days ago, and she really didn't know what it would entail. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to dig deeper. We're trying to get under the hood and see what's there. So I want to know about your dad's coaching career and how that affected you. I want to know about before business so we can understand more about what's happening and how you grow your business now.
Okay. I did grow up. My dad was in education and he was a coach. He was a very, very successful coach. Still today, I think he's number 6 winningest coach in the country.
Wow.
Number 1 in Georgia. And I think growing up with that mentality of you never fail until you quit.
Right.
And the mentality of you never quit.
Sure.
Because you're not a winner if you quit.
That's right.
And so it was a different way to grow up because everything centered around sports. I had 3 brothers. So everything, all philosophies centered around sports.
Sure.
And I think that still today colors my type of mentality.
So was Dad a taskmaster? Was he down to the minute this had to be done? Or was it focusing on concepts in sports and the same thing in life? I mean, how did he teach you guys through basketball, through sports?
Just concepts. It was very much concepts. But it was interesting because he was gone so much with other young people. And his teams and all. I felt like I grew up with all his teams.
Right. Yeah.
Not necessarily him at home, but him in the gym.
Sure. What about Mom? How did Mom tie into that? If
she was a taskmaster.
She was. You got to have a good mix between the two, right? So we've talked about your parents. One of them may be, but who was the most influential person before you graduated college? Who made the biggest? So tell us about Grandma.
My grandmother was a sweet, sweet, sweet Southern lady, and who had an 8th grade education. And she had gone to work in the cotton mill in Scottsdale, right outside of Atlanta, Scottsdale, Georgia. And so this lady that had worked her entire life with an 8th grade education at Scottsdale Cotton Mill decided when she was about 50 years old that she wanted more for her family. She wanted a brand new house. She wanted brand new furniture. And she wanted to help people. And so she decided that she was going to open up a floral business.
Very nice.
Now, understand that when she was 50, and I have to do the math, but this was probably in the late 50s, early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And women did not own businesses, especially at that age. She did not drive, which is a key piece of this story.
Sure.
She never drove. But she started this business, and she absolutely did move her family into a brand new house with brand new furniture, crystal and china that she hardly ever used, but it was very important to her to be able to accomplish that.
Sure.
And she had that business until the day she died. It was a floral and wedding business. Right. Well, she did do some funeral flowers. And so I also grew up in that business because the moment that I turned about 10, she said, "Now, Brenda, you're old enough to help in this business."
That's right. My daughter's 10 right now, so we're working on that too. So
good.
That's a good age, I think. So you've got Grandma, who is a successful businesswoman that is already kind of shaking the social norm of being a woman business owner. You've got Dad, that's a successful top basketball coach in high school. I need to know what kind of student were you in school? Because you've got all these people around you that have slightly different philosophies, but all hardworking. Were you a straight A student? Were you somebody that kind of slacked a little bit? How did high school and college look for you?
No, I never slacked because
doesn't surprise me.
That was not in my DNA. I was not an A+ student. It was not important to me to be the top 2 in the class,
right.
But it was important for me to be very, very good at what I did. So I was an A student with a couple of B's.
Okay.
But when I got to college, then that was probably different because then it was important for me to be the top of the class.
Kind of apply yourself at that point. Mm-hmm. You know which direction you're headed, so we're going to apply ourselves towards that. Well, that's great. So life prior to real estate or in between, I guess you had a career in real estate near D.C. Was it in Virginia? Is that where it was? Mm-hmm. What happened after that? Did you continue your business, or did you decide to take some time?
I decided that in '99, I decided that was the time that any transition I would make that. When we moved here, there wasn't Weichert. Weichert wasn't franchising at the time, and I felt like I had been with the best. I wanted to continue that, so I started the company with 3 other agents. Okay, actually. And then I said, okay, there's the 4 of us. Y'all can do whatever you do. I will do real estate on the side. I'm going back into design.
Okay.
And I did for a couple of years. And then they called me and said, okay, it's time you come run this company. And I never intended necessarily, that was not my intention to do that, is to run the company and build it. But I got pulled back into it and very quickly knew that was my path. Sure. It has been ever since.
So I feel like we're missing a piece of the puzzle between college, working at Weichert, working here. Did you ever spend time at home with your family as far as being a homemaker? What was life like?
I did. Once Paul and I got married, he was, like I said, he was active duty. So, I mean, we were changing locations quite often and had the 3 girls. But I always had some kind of business or I was in some kind of leadership position. So I did a lot of volunteering and had a design business on the side as well.
Okay. That's things that I didn't know. I didn't know if you had taken time off for that. I know we have a lot of young women and women in general that are thinking about starting a business or running businesses right now, and there's this constant social pressure of why aren't you at home with the kids, or vice versa, why aren't you out making money for the family? So what would you tell those ladies that are starting a business or running one right now?
Well, I think you've got to do what's right for you and your family. It's very difficult. There is a lot of social pressure.
Sure.
And we put a lot of pressure on ourselves that we probably ought not to do.
Right.
Whether you are working, you feel guilty that you're not at home.
Mm-hmm.
If you're home, you feel guilty that you're not bringing more, financial influence on the family. I think the big thing is that you understand that as a unit, you and your significant other
Sure.
have to decide what's most important to the family.
Absolutely. And I know that's a tough thing in our family as well. My wife just started a business, a franchise business selling coffee, it's Scooter's Coffee. And she's always struggling with, I want to be at home more with the kids. I'm trying to do something for myself and prove that I can do this and be successful in this way. And it's just a constant pressure. And I think that's a great advice. And I know that I've been tough on myself. I know you are too. Sometimes you can give yourself a little bit of a pass and understand that this is a season in life. It's not always going to be like this, but there's sacrifices that have to be made on all sides. Sometimes that sacrifice for the family,
so
sometimes
important.
it's a sacrifice for the business.
And I think you decide what the non-negotiables
That's
are.
right. That's right.
And I started real estate when my children were very, very little. And my non-negotiable was I would not miss that hour or hour and a half when they came home from school.
Yep.
Period. Because I knew that they were going to dump the information from the day. And if I wasn't there to hear it, they'd dump it on a friend or each other. And I would never know what happened during their day. So that was my non-negotiable. My other non-negotiable was that I wouldn't miss the kids' activities. So whatever activities that they were involved in, I was going to be involved in too.
Right.
So I was going to volunteer. I would, help behind the scenes. I was going to be there. So that they always knew that even though, yes, I had a thriving business that I was very involved in, I also was, more importantly, involved in their lives because they didn't care
That's right.
how successful the business was if they didn't know that I cared about what
That's
they
right.
were doing.
It takes both. I really think that, in my opinion, the 80-20 rule applies in family as well as business because it's about the impact that you have with the time that you have with your family. I know people right now that spend 8 hours a day with their kids and don't have a conversation with them. They put them in front of the TV, they're out playing outside, and they're inside playing on their phone. So an hour of impactful time with each kid, maybe it's 15 minutes a day of really pouring into your kids and vice versa. I think that's powerful, and it sounds like you really mastered that early on.
Well, it was something that with all three of them, because they were all three involved in some of the same things, but all three in different things as
Right.
well, I wanted them to understand that they were a valued, unique
That's right.
person.
Absolutely.
And so that's why I tried to stay involved in whatever they were involved in.
Absolutely. So we try and ask some questions that are a little bit off the wall. This one isn't too bad. What type of music do you like? And then do you have any oddities that you listen to? Like for me, Louise caught me on this. I like to listen to Native American flute music, especially when I get really stressed.
Native American
I
flute
black
music.
out. I black out everything. It's like I'm on patrol again at night shift. There's nothing in the room, no sound, and then I turn on Native American flute music. I think that Elon Musk was sea shanties that he listens to. The last guy that we had, Dr. Nathan Lewis, he likes Gregorian chant. So is there any oddities that you like? We'll go with normal and then oddities.
Yes. I love all kinds of music, especially live music.
Yeah.
I love live music. I'm so excited about the Orion Amphitheater
Absolutely.
opening, and I've already got tickets for 2 concerts in May. So I'm in fact, the first one is this Friday night.
Cool.
I've got tickets to the first
There you
waltz. So I'm very, very excited about that. I love jazz. I love country music. I love oldies. But what you probably wouldn't know about me is I'm a huge, huge, huge Jimmy Buffett fan.
Oh, there you go, Jimmy Buffett. No, I love it. No, so that's the kind of music that you can just vacation with. I listen to a little bit of Jimmy Buffett every now and then, but that's not my thing. But that's great.
But see, I think the reason that I love it so much is that it is very deep. If you can take it
Sure.
at face value.
Yeah.
But the stories in it are just so impactful, and there's a lot of wisdom there. I think he's one of probably he's one of the smartest excuse me, entertainers
Sure.
that are available to us today.
Well, that's the great thing about songs, books. There's layers to them. You read a book one time, 2 times, 3 times, you get something different out of it. Same thing with songs. I talk with Louise all the time about seasons in your life, and songs hit you differently during different seasons in your life, which is great. So we've got the music side of it. Let's get back into business a little bit. I know that you're constantly developing young leaders here, new agents. I've personally seen you help people that are in times of crisis, support them and turn them into successful business owners and real estate agents. What do you think is the secret, or one of the secret's strongest leadership points that allows you to do that?
Well, my philosophy in business is that we really need to, a successful business, or my successful business, is going to make a positive difference in people's lives.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole premise of my business, is making a positive difference in people's lives. So I think that if we can find what someone is passionate about, and their innermost talents and their desires to contribute, and then if we can draw that out and amplify that, then that makes them a success.
Absolutely. So what are some techniques, or what are some things that you do to help draw that out? Because most people I've found, whether it's sitting at a bar talking to somebody, or sitting here, they don't really know what they want or really what they're passionate about. And I almost have to dissect the conversation to figure that out. What do you do to help people realize their personal legend, or what they actually want to do?
I watch them. I'll put them in situations that they can perform, or situations that they may or may not be comfortable in, and then watch how they react. Some people think, okay, I'm not a teacher, but I know they have a teacher's heart. Well, if they don't like to speak in front of people,
Or
but they
get
have
on
a
the camera,
teacher's-
right?
Yes, or be on camera, then that may be an issue.
Sure.
But usually, if you can let people sit down, if they're not having to stand,
That's right.
if you let them sit down, they can teach and they can share with others. But I want them comfortable, obviously.
Sure.
So we just try to find that sweet spot of passion and capability, and then develop that.
So you were talking about putting them in situations. Are you synthetically, or are you fabricating these things in order to push them in a certain direction? Do you just see a problem that comes up and you direct them and delegate them to do something like that? How do you continually push people forward?
I try to interweave it into the business. I mean, I will see a talent in somebody, even if we don't have that division yet, or even if we are not doing that thing. If someone has a talent and a passion, then we are going to now have a division that I can put under that person.
That's pretty powerful. So we've talked about a strength. Now, you know, Brenda, that obviously I look up to your leadership talents. I look up to the business that you've built. You've done so many great things. And the cool thing is that you do things very differently than I do as far as strategy, but the core concepts are the same. So we have different skills as far as that goes. But what do you think that your biggest weakness as a leader is, or what do you need to work on the most?
Oh, this is a good question, especially right now, because I was in a meeting 3 weeks ago, and I had an aha moment in the middle of that meeting, and we were talking about accountability. We were talking actually about the book Atomic Habits.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that book, and talking about meaning different things the more you read it.
Sure.
That's a great book to do that. Read 2 or 3 times. But what came very clear to me is that one of my biggest weaknesses is holding people accountable. Because I am real good at coming up with ideas. I'm real good at finding people's strengths. I'm real good at laying out my vision, but then helping people implement it and making sure that it is implemented. Mm-hmm. So when I lay out my vision, I'm not a micromanager, which is a good thing, and a
That's
bad thing, because I need to come back and say, okay, now this, we're going a little awry, or we're not getting it done as quickly as
Sure.
as we need to. So it's that part that I need to work on.
So I'm reading right now, probably for the third or fourth time, the EMyth Revisited. I always like to go back and look at it because in different seasons in my business, I've got to put on different hats, sometimes wearing the same one. So you have the manager, you have the technician, you have the entrepreneur. Obviously, you have a stronger entrepreneur side. How do you go to work on that? Do you hire somebody that's a manager? Do you focus on that internally? Do you do a combination of the two?
Combination of the two. I know that what is good about me as a business owner is that I can envision the way I want the business to look.
Sure.
2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
That's right.
And I can strategize a plan to get us there. I can put talent in the seats that they need to be in, but I know that the details are not my forte, the little bitty details. So I know I need to hire people that the details are their forte.
So how do you lead those managers? What's the most effective way that you've found to lead those people that have different strengths than you do, that maybe think a lot differently than you do? How do you connect with them and how do you lead that? This is a question that so many people struggle with, being an entrepreneur or even being a manager and working with their boss who's an entrepreneur mindset. How do you connect?
Well, for me, it's important for me to understand where they come from, because they think completely differently
Absolutely.
than I do. So it's very, very important for me to be able to walk in their shoes, if you will, and understand where they come from and what their point of view is, and then to constantly appreciate them for that and vocalize
Sure.
that. It is important for me to get them on our team, if you will, because if they feel like they're going down a different path than maybe the rest of us,
That's
or
right.
that I feel like we need to be going down, we're not going to have synchronization.
Sure.
And it's very, very important to get that.
So just empathy, understanding where they're coming from, letting them be heard, and then.
And communication is so critical.
Do you have a battle rhythm, a weekly structure, or how often are you checking in with your managers? Because with an organization like yours, I mean, what do you have, 200 people, 200 between agents and everybody else? Obviously, you can't talk with everybody, so you've got to work through your managers. How often are you meeting with those folks?
Formally, one time a week, but I am really probably meeting with them 5 to 6 times a week.
So on the formal side, is that one direction casting a vision? Is that a conversation?
It's
and then the informal
always
side?
a conversation.
Okay.
Always a conversation. And I think it's important that we have those conversations because, for instance, the conversation that will be had at today's meeting is about a focus group that we just had with some agents. And I put 9 agents or 10 agents in a room, and we said, okay, what was your experience? What was good? What did you need that we did not give you? And it was interesting because what I found out is they're all needing something that we already give them. And I'm thinking, well, if we already give them this or these several things, but they don't know it, but I know that I know they were exposed to it, then obviously we may be giving it to them too early because they can't absorb it.
Process it, sure.
So it is very, very much a give and take of information. I can't just be on transmit. I have to be on the receiving side more than I transmit.
I see. So there's, I guess, some terms that people use a lot in business early on, kind of mid-management, and then upper tier that may confuse folks. I'm just going to get your feel on them. One of them is the grind. So if you look at any young real estate agents' Facebook page, Instagram page, they're going to have the grind everywhere. How do you feel about that term, the grind, as opposed to, a Think and Grow Rich or even a lifestyle design? How do all of those kind of tie in your place where you're at in the business right now?
For me personally?
Yes, ma'am. And I'll kind of lead you with that. My thoughts are on the grind. that if you're constantly grinding, you're not actually thinking about growing your business.
Yeah.
So you're always in the weeds, and so you can't project like we're talking about. Lifestyle design, I want to create a life that's better for me, and that doesn't necessarily mean that I want to work 16, 18 hours a day. Maybe I do, and I love that, but I know that comes with burnout. And I see so many people early on that start with the grind and then don't realize that there's no way to elevate at that point.
I think it's such an important question for everybody to answer. For me personally, it is probably more important that at least 60% of my time during a week, I work on my business. I'm working in my business. And that's important, obviously. It's important for me to continue prospecting, recruiting. It's important for me to make sure that I'm educating and that I am supporting my agents. But I also have to work on big picture.
That's right.
I have to work on my business. So when I really, but I've done this for so many years that it's second nature to me.
Sure.
I will, at the end of a week, look at how much I worked on my business and how much I worked in my business, and to see if there is a disparity.
Sure.
And then I know the next week, excuse me, I'm going to have to flip it.
Right.
The other thing that I will do probably 4 times a year is I will go off, get out of my norm.
That's right.
If I stay in my norm, if I stay behind my desk, behind my computer, especially in the same spot, I tend to do the same things.
Sure. You got to get into a different zip code.
Right. I have to get in a different zip code, and I'm going to do that actually Sunday. So I will go maybe 4 times a year. I will have a conference or something like that. I will always go early and spend a day or a day and a half on my business.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I have an agenda for that, sometimes I don't. But you've got to be able to have creative thought.
Absolutely. So creative thought, inspirations, refilling your cup. What book has been most influential for you? Book, we could do podcasts. What has motivated you? What has centered you? What book is that?
I'll tell you, and there are a lot of books that I love. I love Good to Great. And I know that's an oldie,
Sure,
but I love Good to Great.
I've got it on my desk right now to read again. So can you tell me why you love it so much?
Because I think they talk about so many different businesses, and I love to hear about people's business.
Sure.
Not necessarily all real estate companies, although I do have a lot of, I guess, accountability partners in real estate from all over the United States. And I do know a lot about their businesses and love to hear about their businesses. But I love to hear about anybody's business, because the same things can be applicable depending on, no matter what the product is. So I love, Good to Great, because it takes different businesses and then it breaks it down into stories that you can understand.
Absolutely.
It's also, it's a great leadership book.
I've got to reread it. It's been since the last time you had us read it. That was about 3 years ago when I read that last. I also saw the story brand up on your desk up there. So is that another one coming up?
It is.
Well, good.
It is.
I enjoy that one too. I've got it on Audible. All right, so this is one that I've added. Dr. Nathan Lewis didn't get this question. If you could apprentice or shadow anyone from any era for 1 month, who would it be and why would you shadow them?
That's probably my easiest question.
Well, there you go.
Walt Disney.
All right. Well, tell us why you would shadow Walt Disney.
Because I think he was a brilliant man as far as being able to creatively build a business, but also know the internal workings that needed to go into that. And he never lost. I'm not speaking of present day Disney, because I think they have gone off the path a little bit. But he never lost the vision of what he was trying to do. And I think that he was so single-minded in that vision, but look where it led. Look what it turned into. So I would love to be able to pick his brain. I would love to be able to see his brain in his creative process in progress.
Sure. So let's spin off of that a little bit. You were talking about single-mindedness, about the vision. I tell every young business owner, everybody that talks to me, that the first thing that you need to do is figure out your why. You need to figure out what that scope is. You need to be able to look through those binoculars or through that lens and make every business decision that you have off of that. This is what we do. It doesn't matter if there's money over here. This is what we do, and we're going to continue with that.
100%.
What lens do you have for your business?
Making a positive difference in people's lives through real estate. Period. I knew when I was young. In fact, I probably knew it at 14, maybe even earlier than that. That the reason I existed was to make a positive difference in people's lives.
That's right.
Period. I thought that was kind of a dumb why when I went into business, and I explored all kinds of things my first few years. I mean, why am I in business? What is this supposed to do? And then it came down to, no, my life why is making a difference, a positive difference.
That's
right. And when I realized that it doesn't have to be different for my business, then it all clicked. And that was probably not until maybe 2011, 2012. Wow. And then it clicked. And I knew, okay, I don't have to struggle. I know why I'm doing this.
Why do you think it was so hard? Was it because it was so simple and you were looking for something complicated?
Absolutely.
I agree 100%. As you know, helping good people get to a better place is our slogan with Richard Neeseteam. And it's not helping people buy houses. It's not how many houses I can sell or transactions. It's how do we help people get to a better place. Sometimes that's rentals. Sometimes that's helping them through a situation at home. Whatever that is, we try and do that on a daily basis. So the last one that I have is, what legacy do you want to leave for your great-great-grandchildren? I was listening to a YouTube video by Steve Harvey, and he was talking about the fact that he doesn't know his great-grandpa's name. He surely doesn't know his great-great-grandpa's name or what he did. So he wanted to leave a legacy that his great-great-grandchildren would know who he was and what he was about and why he did the things he did. What do you want to leave for your great-grandkids?
Well, interesting question, and I guess I have to go back to my grandmother. And of course, my children did not know her. But two things that she left. She said, number one, you can do anything in life if you put your mind to it and your heart to it. It's got to be both.
That's right.
She said you can do anything in life if both of those are engaged. And I like to think that her influence has influenced my children, even though they never knew her. And then, you know, the second thing that she always said is God will provide. That's what I would like to leave for my great-grandchildren, even though I won't necessarily, well, my great-great-grandchildren that I won't know. I'd like to leave that kind of legacy in that, you know, I made the world a little better place. I made a positive difference in people's lives. And whether it was buyers or sellers, agents, staff members, and even my children, that I've got two daughters that will never be in real estate.
Right.
But through this company, I like to think that we have made a positive difference in their lives through real estate.
Absolutely.
Even though they're not in real estate.
Well, that is my list of questions. The thing I like to do at the end, though, is I like to give you kind of an open forum. Is there something you want to tell business owners, real estate agents, people in general, a message you want to put out there that could make a positive impact on somebody's life today?
I would say that businesses are not always easy. There are going to be ups and downs. You're going to learn more from the downs than you are the ups. I can guarantee you that. And if I had to say one thing to business owners is don't quit. If you don't quit, you do not fail. Because if you continue putting one foot in front of the other, even when it's very, very hard, and even though you don't know exactly what tomorrow might bring, if you just keep on, you'll be a success.
Brenda, thank you. You can tell that that's coming from a long line, a deep heritage of business owners, of successful people, of hardy people that know that at the end of the day, you just got to keep going. No matter what happens, you got to keep going. I appreciate you coming on. If you guys will please subscribe to our YouTube channel to check out more. We can get some more information as far as Brenda's company. If you guys are interested in joining a real estate team, Weichert Realtors Space Place is a great place to be. I was talking to Louise about it earlier. great training. Brenda would be glad to interview you guys and talk to you. And there's Weicherts all over the United States, so there may be a company near you if you want to talk to them about becoming a real estate agent overall. Hope you guys have a great day, and if you guys need anything from me, just give me a holler.